program of American music. So we have two string quartets for you today, very different. One is more on the adventurous side and one is more tried and true. But I think you'll like both of them. The first piece we have for you is by Mark O'Connor. Mark O'Connor is a violinist and composer. He lives in Nashville, Tennessee. I think he was born in Seattle. And he is comfortable playing in a lot of styles of music, bluegrass, country, jazz, and classical music. And all of those styles of music show up in his compositions as well. He's collaborated with artists like Yo-Yo Ma, Renee Fleming, Emmylou Harris, and Randy Travis, just to name a few. A lot of people want to play with Mark O'Connor. He's a product of our rich folk tradition of music as well as classical music, and it's really neat to hear it brought together, all different kinds of music that would seem to not have anything to do with each other, brought together in his compositions. This piece that we're going to start with, that we're going to play, is his third string quartet, and it's called the Old Time Quartet. And the tunes are, they're composed based on the style of music of old-time fiddle riffs. And then he used standard composition techniques to form them into pieces. So each movement starts with a solo introduction, or at least it sounds like a solo introduction. And where I wanted to point out a few things to you that are of special interest to me, anyway, in the piece. The first movement starts with the two violins playing an introduction. It's kind of bluesy sounding. And then the second violin, Tammy, plays the tune, and it sounds like this. Yeah, a little bluesy. And so then, after that, the first violin and cello have the tune, and the first violin plays exactly the same thing that Tammy played, and the cello part is slowed down and, no, upside down. Slowed down and inverted, but other than that, it's the same tune. So Lori's going to show you what that sounds like now. I won't tell you how many rehearsals it took me thinking, well, that sounds familiar, before I realized exactly what it was. But it was before today, so that's good. And so then this is what it sounds like when she plays it, when Lori and Anna play the two tunes together, one upside down. Very neat. And then the next, we come to a fast section that's introduced by the second violin. And that is the cello part that you just heard sped up. And so here's what it sounds like when they're together. Okay, and then there is also some more material introduced later in the movement. And that's pretty much everything you hear in the first movement. The second movement is, he calls a slow waltz. It kind of sounds like a ballad to me. It starts with a viola solo, and then Lori joins me, and we play in canon for a while, and we're going to play that for you now. Then immediately the violins come in, and they have kind of like a ballad sounding tune, and our part suddenly becomes the accompaniment, but the canon continues almost through the whole movement. So they get to kind of get in touch with their inner country for this. So the third movement starts with the two violins, and actually they sound like one instrument, I think. It took me a while, but I had to actually look at the score before I realized that 2 people were playing instead of 1. If this quartet had a scherzo, this would be it. It's fast and rhythmic and accented, and I just want to play one of the main tunes from it for you. We all have that for a while. The last movement has a kind of a joyful sound to it, and there are 2 sections that happened over and over that I wanted to play for you. One is an ending, and there are a lot of the piece goes off in a lot of different directions, but the phrases, a lot of them come back to this one ending, and it's kind of feels like coming home. So you hear that over and over. There's also a section that, another section that comes often, and it's a tune, and it sounds kind of like a dance when it comes to, like a dance of people that are finally coming together and they're so happy to be together that they're dancing. So, and it goes like this. I also wanted to read you what Mark O'Connor had to say about his quartet. And this kind of explains why we have the Matanzas voices here, and this explains the connection with the Hudson River and our river, kind of. The string quartet number 3, Old Time, was composed on the occasion marking 400 years of history, dating from the days of the first European settlements. My specific task from the Hudson Commission was to concentrate music based on the natural habitat and beauty of the Hudson, as well as on the time of the first European settlers. It was natural for me to think about old-time fiddling in this light. In 1909, Washington Irving described the Catskill Mountains as a dismembered branch of the Appalachian Mountains. My own Dutch ancestors settled in the Hudson Valley in the early 1600s and eventually traveled down the Appalachians to settle in the South in the early 1800s. The old-time fiddling that dominated those areas along that route is the musical language utilized in creating this string quartet. For the musical genesis of the quartet, I initially created phrases from the fiddle that were molded out of old-time fiddling tradition. With technical twists and turns, the phrases became unique and new, but all the while still connected to the tradition. It is these phrases that I used as material to create the string quartet. Through the process of composing, techniques such as reharmonization, development, canonic applications spill over each other like the Hudson tributaries in the Adirondacks. The counterpoint of the quartet invigorates and establishes itself. The result is a wholly participating body emphasizing transitions from the traditional to the contemporary in sound and style. The music here is no longer fiddle music as the inventions of the quartet embarks on a new story, a new way to play, and with a new musical idea to put forward. So we hope you enjoy Mark O'Connor's 3rd string quartet, Old Time.